Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With FishingBooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. FishingBooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to FishingBooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.
Scree gear is more than apparel. It's a tribute to the relentless, the tireless, the true guardians of the wilderness. It's for those who seek not just a game, but a legacy. Not just a sport, but a way of life. In our gear, you're more than a hunter. You're a story, a tradition, a legend in the making. Scree is your journey, your triumph, your success. Join the working man revolution. Success awaits.
Well, all right. Welcome back to the Survival and Basic Badass podcast with Kevin and Chuck. Today we're going to talk about the warrior mindset. What makes some men achieve greatness? And basically, I mean, all the things a soldier goes through and learns in boot camp, and basically what makes somebody want to join the military? What gives people, the attitude, the excitement to want to go out and take on life like that? But it doesn't even have to be like a soldier as we know it, but the warrior mindset, I mean, I think somebody who, when you become an Olympian, that takes a warrior mind. And honestly, to be the CEO of a company, you probably have a warrior mind. You're somebody who follows through and gets shit done. And that's basically what I'm talking about, is how we get there and why it matters and why it makes it different. I think it starts for a soldier like in boot camp. You have the training, and maybe you've seen like Full Metal Jacket, these different movies where you'll all be like standing out for inspection in the morning, and the drill instructor, might be, yelling in somebody's face, and jokers in the back, making snickering or whatever. But what gives you, why do we have the discipline to stand there? And, why does that matter? You think, oh, well, I just need somebody who's a crazy motherfucker who's going to, start yelling and go attack the enemy full on. But having the discipline and the patience, it matters. And when you come down to the situations like when you're in battle, all your training, everything else, none of it matters. It's just your core instincts that come to mind. And are you going to have the discipline to stand and be steadfast? And that's I guess what I'm talking about. Is the discipline to follow through, the dedication to get the mission done no matter what. And that's why, one of the better things in training, honestly, cold, shitty weather, that's where the best training happens. It's when conditions aren't right that you really are able to test your mettle and push forward. When you're out there doing, your 10-mile run in the Army, they're dumb, they do that kind of thing. And we're carrying the full pack. They want it to be grueling and miserable and horrible because they want to know that when times are shitty and horrible, that you're going to stand your ground. But basically, I don't want to take it necessarily on the battlefield. I want to take it how that applies to life. That training you get, and some of us come in with that kind of discipline, but it definitely gets honed, and the military does a great job of honing that skill and teaching you to be steadfast and to hold on through things and persevere. And that's why people say, soldiers make great employees when they get out. And they really do. And the reason is because they've learned that, when times are shitty, you keep going on.
Right.
What are you thinking?
Well, I
just even what I said, where are we?
Well, I think of the warrior mindset as the idea that, you can get hit and still win a fight.
Right.
You can get hurt and keep pushing forward. Not every obstacle has to be, overcome with no effort.
Yeah.
It's going through the struggle and keep moving on.
Yeah. No, and that's...
I read this book about samurais, written by a samurai when I was younger, and I was just looking at one of the quotes that he had in the book, and he says, if it starts raining, don't run for the eaves of a house, don't hide. He goes, if you just accept that you're going to get wet, then you have no problems. You can move forward from there. And I like that kind of idea. If you accept the struggles that you're going to have to go through, then you don't have a fear of them.
I think that's right. And that's exactly a nephew of ours joined the Marines. And, I was wondering, gee, what kind of advice, what can I tell this kid before he goes, that I know from boot camp? Because there were certain people who were just miserable in boot camp. And I mean, they had a hard time. Mm-hmm. And they're crying every night. And just, it just was so hard for them. And, I mean, partly being a stubborn bastard can make it harder for you. Mm-hmm. and make it so it doesn't work in boot camp. But basically, when you get there, I went in, I was a little older. I think I was 21 when I went to boot camp. Because some of the guys are 17, and mm-hmm. there's a big difference in your perspective of the world between 17 and 21.
Right.
Or at least there should be. Mm-hmm. But you go in, and as soon as you realize, you know what, I'm going to go to bed when they tell me, I'm going to get up when they tell me, I'm going to shit, shower, shave when they tell me, and that is going to be enough. I'm going to run when they tell me, I'm going to stop running when they tell me. Mm-hmm. And you know what, it's their problem if I fall over and die, mm-hmm. and it's not mine. Right. I don't have to think about it. I'm going to eat when they tell me, I'm going to eat what they tell me. And that, once you accept those terms, which is exactly what you just said with mm-hmm. being in the rain, once you accept the terms, you're going to get wet, I'm going to run, I'm going to do whatever shitty thing they say, but I don't care because I don't have to think about it. Mm-hmm. I don't have to worry about dying. I don't have to worry about, I'm just going to go and do what I'm told, and it will work out because it's somebody else's problem. It made it so easy to cope with. Mm-hmm. Where boot camp was a breeze for me. Yeah. Because I
never had any problems. And I had the same thing. I had a guy that was intentionally pissing his bed to get out.
Yeah.
He was telling people he was bisexual so that they'd kick him out. And finally he did something, I don't know what it was, to get kicked out because boot camp was so bad. And that's just ridiculous.
It was not that hard.
It was not. You have people yelling at you, but I grew up with my dad yelling at me. And it ain't no big deal.
You're right. It's no big thing, right?
They can't even hit you,
Exactly. Waking up.
It's once you understand what you're dealing with and what you have to deal with and what you have to go through, and you accept that there are going to be those stumbling blocks,
right?
Then it's not a big deal,
right? And that just comes into play when you end up in the battlefield. Mm-hmm. Is you need somebody to say, all right, you know what, I'm here, I'm on this mission, and I'm just going to accept it, and I'm not going to stop. I had just heard a podcast, and oh man, maybe I'm a jerk and I'm mentioning it twice on ours, but the guy was like, look, I decided when I get hit in battle, I'm just going to be calm and take care of everybody else and do what I can. And by making that decision beforehand, you're going to be able to change things and make the world a better place. And that's really how it is you need to make a decision of how you're going to act. That's why the repetitive training in the military is so great.
That's why it works.
That's why it works. Because it's, all right, I've decided when this happens, this is what I'm going to do. And that's how we need to be. It's the irrational, the freaking out, the panic, the whatever that separates the warrior from your average person who ends up crumbling when times get
tough. If you look at military history, British military history, the reason that they were so successful was because of the discipline. Yes. It was constant drilling, it was constant formation, and and that's why they were repeatedly victorious in battles where they're outnumbered, because their military was so well oiled and put together and disciplined. Yeah. They drilled that military mindset into every soldier. Yeah. And if it was a line of 30 guys defending a retreat against 1,000 French troops, yeah, they could hold them off for long enough, even though people were falling either side of them, they were still holding the line together. And that's a lot of military history. If you look back through the past, you see the armies that win and the armies that lose. Right.
It is the discipline. I mean, like Napoleon was the man. Mm-hmm. I mean, this guy runs everything. Genghis Khan. Mm-hmm. And I know we've mentioned these guys, but it's that perseverance. But they have a plan. They don't just run in blindly. Right. There's thinking, and Napoleon had a book, like Napoleon's Maxims, and they were all his own stuff. And it was funny, like Andrew Jackson would study Napoleon stuff, and just go through with. You need to decide and have a plan, but it's not just having a plan. I mean, how many half-baked hippies do we see that have a plan, but it doesn't mean it's going to work? You also need like the perseverance and the stick to it. They always, I know I've mentioned I do some like internet marketing stuff and different stuff like that. It's one of the things I learned is the harder the task is that you want to take on, the more success you're going to have. Mm-hmm. And so, you know what? If you write maybe a PDF, they have the ebooks that are short, like 30 pages, 100 pages or less, maybe 75 pages or less. You'll have a certain level of success. And if you write a whole book, you're going to have even more success. Because the thing is, how many people are doing that? Most people don't have that kind of commitment to take it that far. Mm-hmm. If you're going to set up a website, you write some articles. Yeah, I'm gung-ho. I'm going to write 5 articles, and then I never write another one. Right. You're not going to have much success. But if you have the perseverance to write article, and then the next week, another article, and you just keep going on, like with this podcast, every week, here we are, we do it, another week. Some weeks it's not convenient. Some weeks, I got a lot going on. I got a lot of projects at the house. I got to get things done. And you want to just kind of skip over. But it's that consistency and the drive to keep going. That's where you start to cut ahead. And all of a sudden, hey, we're starting to get a little more positive feedback. We're starting to get a little... Mm-hmm. And it's that perseverance and drive. And I kind of give that to that warrior mind of, no, you're not a warrior because you make a podcast, but you're a warrior because when times are not easy and not the fun way to do it, you keep going on. Right. And that's what's going to set you apart. You want to achieve greatness. It's when you want to be Michael Jordan, when you want to be the basketball player, you're like, oh, well, but you know what? It sucks when you're every day. I'm going to spend, maybe it's a half hour, maybe it's an hour, depends the level of greatness you want. Maybe it's 3 hours a day from when you're a little kid, but I'm just going to practice. I'm going to practice. And, I'm going to do my physical training too. I'm going to do, whatever, go running, have the stamina, have the whatever, practice jumping high. Turns out that can be a learned skill. I don't know. But, that's the thing is the dedication of, not, I'm into it for a month, and you know what? I'm not great at it. I think in another podcast I talked about playing guitar. I do it for 10 or 20 minutes, and then, how come I'm not great? Yeah. Well, because you practice for 10 or 20 minutes, and, or when you practice, it's not structured and organized, but instead you're just doing, trying to play Sweet Child of Mine over and over again, but you're not moving forward anywhere else, you know? But so what else? What do you got?
Well, you know, I like that idea of the. You've ever heard that 10,000 hours? The
Yes.
10,000 hours. You know, if you want to be great at something,
Right.
you have to invest 10,000 hours in it. But who has 10,000 hours? It's really, you know, if you really want to achieve something,
You
really have to
the
be
time.
focused.
You have to do it.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, you hear about SEALs. They're like, well, my SEAL team comes before my family because this is what and that's why I'm a SEAL. You know, I'm the guy who's committed, and that's why I'm not a SEAL. You know, I mean, that's, you know, and I love that, and I'm jealous and envious of some of the things they did, but they made the commitment to put that before their family, to put that as number one. And, you know, I'm sure there's SEALs out there that might tell you, oh, well, I love my family more than the SEAL teams and whatever. But it's a serious commitment and things you're willing to take away from your family, your time, in order to make that commitment to be a warrior.
Yeah, there's nothing easier in life than quitting. You know?
Quitting is easy. I don't know. But then there's different things, too. Like, I mean, you get so much great benefits. You know, people get out of the military and they're like, oh, you know, I miss it, or maybe I don't, maybe it was horrible, whatever. But, you know, there's such a brotherhood and a camaraderie. You build a closeness when you're in the military with those people. And these are all people who are dedicated. And that's why you're so close. And that's, as you get into, like, the Special Forces guys, they're even closer and a tighter bond because every one of them is so dedicated to their cause. Now, it may not be, oh, we love America so much, or we love the Constitution so much, but it's we love each other and take care of each other as warriors, and we love being warriors and this bond. And you may have the same thing when you're creating Apple computers or you're creating, you know, anything that's awesome. When you achieve real success, when you're a warrior, it's because you guys really love what you're doing and your cause and you're dedicated to it.
Right.
You know, you're in it. You're like, you know what, this is what we're focused on. You're building Windows for, you know, PCs or whatever. You know, whatever it is you do, when you make a decision and you're all there, you guys have a bond. And because you're all connected by achieving greatness, that's when, you know, success is really going to come. And that is what, you know, the warrior mind is.
Right. Yeah. No, I mean, it's really a mental preparedness for the situations that you might encounter in your day-to-day life. You know, when I go out, when I'm in places that I don't have control of the area, you know, when I'm outside my house, my car, you know, places where I don't know anybody that's around me, where, you know, I'm in a gas station, convenience store, you know, that sort of thing. I try and have that mind where I'm ready, you know, to be polite to the cashier and hold the door open for the old lady.
You are a nice guy.
I am a nice guy. I'm always a nice guy. But I'll smack you in the face if you you know. I was in line in the gas station the other day, and I just have that, you know, I try and keep that personal space.
Yes.
So I have, you know, a space for reaction. You know, if something happens, I can move quick.
Yes.
And I was standing in line, and I usually give the person in front of me a good 3 or 4 feet, because there's no reason for me to be smelling
No,
his
you don't
his
need to be
armpits.
nut to butt.
Right. No, the line's not going to move any faster because I'm closer. And this guy behind me just was like so close
Freaking
behind
out.
me. Every time I took a step forward, he'd inch up right behind me. And finally I turned around. I said, "Dude, can you back up? You're standing on my dick." And he looked all like,
"Oh,
what?"
Yeah.
But I mean, it's you know, you have to be ready to you know, make yourself known and let people around you know that you're not standing up for their bullshit. You're not taking their bullshit.
Yeah. Once you show weakness.
Right, that's it.
You know,
it's like we talked about that hand-to-hand combat. You know, don't get in a screaming match and start walking backwards.
No.
Because then you lose the fight. It's the same thing in your day-to-day life, in your interactions with other people. It's fine to be nice. It's fine to be polite. You know, it's fine to go out of your way a little bit to help other people up. Yeah. but know that there's a line and know
if
where
you
that
back
line
down,
is
you're
going to
lose that fight.
Right.
And that's
right. Because a fight
can
happen at any moment, even if it's just a regular, confrontation argument.
Yeah.
Or if it's a road rage situation where you have to deal with some asshole screaming out his window.
Yeah.
I'll run you off the road, man. Look at my car. I got dents in it. I ain't scared.
Now you're not afraid? All right. So, well, that's it. So when we got into this and I was like, we need to do a really warrior mindset kind of podcast. When I started looking at it, I was searching things on the, internet. I usually try and download some podcasts that are relevant and just hear other people's perspective and hope I can bring some more insight to it. And I found this one called the Jocko Podcast. And this guy's a Navy SEAL and badass. Sounds like he did his full 20 or whatever, maybe more. I don't know. But I did a couple of his podcasts, and this guy definitely has that warrior mind kind of down pat.
Yeah, what's the name of the podcast?
I think it is the Jocko Podcast.
Oh, yeah, I'll have to look it up.
So it was definitely worth the listen. The guy was awesome. But, he really was able to, convey all that. And I was like, wow, that's that thing. But anyway, so I was listening to it, and he had a sniper on, and they were talking about different things. And the guy said, like with the sniper, he goes, the easiest thing is to teach somebody how to shoot. He goes, shooting is not the skill we look for in a sniper. Mm-hmm. He's like, obviously, you want them to have, some kind of proficiency. But he goes, if you imagine the movie Shooter with Marky Mark, right? Mm-hmm. So he said when the guy took that novice FBI guy to help him out, he had him as the shooter, whereas Marky Mark did everything else. Because he's like, shooting is easy. You can teach somebody to shoot, but it's the patience, the dedication, the thinking, the planning, the staying calm under pressure, and the logic and the reasoning. That's what they look for in making a sniper. It's somebody who can sit in the field for 8 hours and wait for the thing to show up. Or you can crawl into the encampment 3 feet at a time over. That's something that you can't just take your average Joe in 2 minutes go, yeah. You need to, it's the, if you're taking bathroom breaks and here's your water bottle and, and your bag of chips, can you wait out the guy and the thing? Well, yeah, maybe, But
do I have a book? Can I read a book?
Can you crawl across a field moving about a foot, half hour? That's another story, and he goes, that's the kind of patience and dedication, but that's that warrior mindset of, that's what's going to take you to the next level. And I think that's, awesome. He was the one brought up a lot of the Napoleon maxims in one of the episodes I was listening to. I was kind of psyched on that. He was talking about, the dedication and the persevering. I mean, obviously, training matters. I was thinking same thing in that movie, American Sniper. Chris Kyle was talking about, there'd be the Marines, and they're just running in, and these guys are dedicated. They're Marines. They care about what they do, and they're warriors. Now, the training matters, though. They're going kicking door to door, but they're walking in like, crazy, running in like madmen into something, and they all get shot.
Right.
Chris Kyle's like, hey, maybe if we spend 20 minutes and I show you how I approach a house, maybe everybody won't be dying every day.
Right.
So I'm not denoting training. And training is what gives you, like we just said earlier, that I don't have to think about it, I just act.
Right, you have muscle
and that's
memory.
Awesome. So I'm not taking anything away from training. That's a big part of it. But what pushes you over the top to becoming a warrior is that mindset of, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to, quit when times are hard, but I'm going to work through any kind of, toughness and things that come bad, and that's really something we need to start, looking at and basically working on the discipline. If you haven't been in the military, it's the discipline. It matters. It matters that you're going to be consistent and stay with things. But, I don't know, what else?
Yeah, well, that's I don't know, man.
That's what you're thinking.
All right,
yeah. All right, no problem.
I did my my.
You did your thing. Well, I mean, think about like Audie Murphy. Jumping into the, getting up and saying, you know what, my guys are getting mowed down by that guy with the machine gun. I'm gonna run up and jump in that mosquito nest. You know,
right.
That's not training. That's not anything else. That's dedication to the cause.
Right.
Dedication to the knowing that hey, there's a good chance I'm gonna die.
Did you ever read his book?
To Hell and Back, and then the movie there. But
he played himself in the movie. That movie was actually pretty good for the time frame that it was made in. But there's a lot of great stories like that. Sergeant York, and there's a lot of great stories about that mindset. You know?
And that's one of the other benefits. I think that help you stay dedicated, and maybe this is more how the SEALs are approaching it. I don't know. I know that I got very good at compartmentalizing everything. I hate to say it, when you're out at sea and you're gone for 6 months, I didn't sit around dwelling. You can't read letters from home and focus on that. I'm not saying you don't read the letters that come, but I'm saying that can't be something you dwell on or harp about. When I'm out at sea, I'm a soldier and I'm a warrior, and I think about that.
Every hour of every day
is on that ship.
Right.
This is what I'm thinking about. This is what I'm doing. Because you can't have your mind in two places and caught on things. Now, when I'm at home, my mind is with my family. I'm not thinking about, what's this? At work. And it's that compartmentalizing of, all right, this bad thing happened or this. But that's not what I'm doing. Right now, I'm going on this mission and I'm focused on this. I can't worry about, what's going to happen with Johnny's family? I know he had a daughter and now he got shot and this is going to be bad and whatever. No, I'm here to do a mission. And that's where my mind is for that time.
Well, it's important even, if you're not in the military, that's a good skill to apply to your life. You have a bad day at work, you don't go home and smack your wife around,
Well...
You might smack your wife around just for fun.
Because that's what you do, but then you're a jerk. But, hey.
But, I mean, it's, to separate your work and your family life. To separate your bad day from going home and playing with your kids. You know? It's an important skill to have, to be able to, separate your emotions.
Yes.
Between two different situations that have nothing to do with each other.
Exactly. And that's definitely, something that, I don't let stress. Basically, when problems come up or things, I take the steps that I can do to correct it, and then I don't give it a second thought. I don't go back at all in my mind.
Right.
And that's where so many people get eaten alive. Like, I have, this test coming up at college and it's going to be really stressful and whatever. I'm going to take the steps I need to study. And when I'm not studying, I'm not thinking about it for 1 second because I don't care. Because otherwise it consumes me. And, that's it. You can't let things consume you. You don't ignore responsibility. I'm not saying I just forget about everything else. I do, all right, this bill came in. I need the money. All right, here's the plan. Here's how I'm going to pay for it. Or what steps am I going to have to take to pay for it? Done. That's it. It's out of my mind. I'm going to write the check or whatever. It's done. And I'm going to move on and move forward.
Yeah, I'm not going to lose sleep about thinking about it.
I'm not going to think about, how am I going to... Because, let worry about itself, right? The other thing, like, I had, back to that warrior mind of you still need the discipline. And you need to keep on top of things where... I know right when I came out of boot camp, I don't know, we were supposedly, I was, the electronic technician guy. We were the smart, socially acceptable people. And so we had an admiral coming in for a conference and I had to go set it up. And me and this other girl were setting stuff up. And I guess we had all just come out of school. Maybe I had told this story. I don't even know. But we had just come out of school. And somehow I was in E4 and she was in E3. But there was no real, difference. We had just completed the same thing, but there was a timeline thing. And she had talked back to me or something. No, I think we should do it this way and whatever. And the admiral came over and was like, whoa, if you don't check her, I'll check her. And then I'm going to check you for not taking charge. And, but that's it. There still has to be discipline and order. It's not all friendship and birthday parties. But just the same, you need to be focused on what you're doing. And we all need to be, there needs to be one leader.
Right.
You need to take charge and handle your responsibility because you're accountable for you and your actions.
Right.
And I know that was kind of a little shift in momentum, but...
Yeah, but the further you go in life...
that's something I don't want to skip.
The more responsibility you have, generally speaking. As a child, you're responsible for yourself.
Yes.
But as you get older, you're responsible for your younger siblings and yourself.
Right.
As you get married and have kids... You start being responsible for your family.
And it moves on.
Yeah. And, the more you have on your plate, the more responsibility and the more focus you have to have in your day-to-day life.
And I think that does it. But you know what? There was another podcast I just wanted to mention. There is this guy, Cliff Graham, that I really like. And I had heard about him. He runs an organization called the Underground Railroad Project, and he does basically they try and stop sex trafficking and underage stuff like that. And I was like, oh, that seems like a pretty cool cause. And I started hearing some interviews with this guy, and he'll do for like $2,000 he'll end up going in and rescuing like 10 kids. And I'm like, man, if you can change 10 lives for $2,000, that sounds way better than giving money to, UNICEF or something. And I was like, wow, that's pretty awesome. So this guy's got a podcast, and it's called the Good Battle Podcast. And same thing. So I was thinking about him with this episode because I just heard a podcast on King David, David and Goliath.
Right.
And not to get all, religious on you or whatever, but that's somebody with the warrior mindset. I mean, this guy, everything he did, he applied the principles of a warrior. Being out in the fields and tending the sheep, that's no light, task. And you are fighting wolves and lions and bears and things that come into the harm of the, the thing. And he didn't have any mind. And when he went to like King Saul, and was like, hey, I'm going to go after Goliath here, and I can handle this. Saul saw the confidence, saw what was in him, and was like, hey, this is somebody who could maybe do it, And basically, they were risking, slavery, whatever, but it's that confidence and that peace of mind. And I just thought, hey, I'll throw that guy a plug because, man, he spent like 8 hours talking about a, 3-paragraph story in the Bible. And I'm like, man, that's deep, and he just really built up, but that same warrior mind kind of thing of dedication and, what puts us at people. It's the Good Battle Podcast.
Okay.
But it was worth a listen. And just, those stories of David were just like, yeah, dude, you got it going on. And it just, when people can cut above like that, I like to throw them a bone. So maybe check out the Jocko podcast. Of course, you're going to be listening to the Survival and Basic Badass podcast. You need to keep downloading episodes. Make sure you guys are on top of it. Maybe share it with a friend. Like I said, Patreon, you could throw us a little love. You know what? We also like the reviews on the iTunes. You guys want to get in there, we'd really appreciate it because the more reviews you get on iTunes, then, more other people are going to be able to find it. If you can help spread the word, again, we wanted you to check out the Badass Army forum there. So badassarmy.com or go to preppingbadass.com, check out the forum, see if we can start a little group, hear what your ideas are, hear what you guys are interested in. And we can keep it moving.
And
so
you can email us at preppingbadass@gmail.com.
Preppingbadass@gmail.com. There's a link to our Facebook, on Twitter at preppingbadass. And stay safe, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Planning a fishing trip shouldn't feel like a full-time job. With FishingBooker.com, you can find and book the perfect fishing trip within minutes. FishingBooker.com connects you with trusted fishing captains around the world. Booking is fast, easy, and secure, with access to verified customer reviews, loyalty rewards, and around-the-clock customer support. Everything you need to book with confidence is in one place. So head to FishingBooker.com and start planning your next fishing adventure today.